Monte Carlo simulation is a powerful technique, which is primarily used to analyze uncertainty and risk. It involves running multiple simulations, using random values for different factors to understand the range of possible outcomes. In simpler terms, it's like playing out possible scenarios to get a better understanding of the likelihood of different outcomes. This helps in making informed decisions, estimating probabilities, and assessing risks in a more comprehensive way. Energer offers this complex simulation with just one click. Before we run a simulation, let's review the output from the demo project. To understand how one can interpret the simulation output, you can see a histogram. This is an output of running 10,000 scenarios of a project. As you can see, it forms a bell curve centered around the 50% probability mark. Hovering over any column shows the data for that specific column. Here, for this project, the simulation showed that for August 2023, around 500 samples out of 10,000 were showing that the project ends then. If you follow the orange cumulative probability curve towards the right, you can see that it shows 30%, which basically means that 30% of the 10,000 simulations showed that project will likely be completed by August. In some project management teams, this is marked as the P30 date, which is basically the 30% probability of completion. Similarly, for a higher percentage confidence date, you can see that the P80 is around June 2024. Each task in the schedule is set as a random duration. The duration is based on the probability type that you selected on the project settings page. Energer offers 3 different selections. The first is a normal distribution, which is a statistical term that describes a symmetric bell-shaped curve, where most data points cluster around the mean. Here, Energer takes your best-case duration, the worst-case duration, and distributes the random durations around the average of the 2 durations. A triangular distribution is a statistical term that represents a probability distribution where the values are concentrated around a central point, forming a triangle-shaped curve. Here, Energer takes your most likely date and centers duration around that, using the best case and worst case durations as the bookends. A uniform distribution is a statistical term that represents a probability distribution where all values within a given range are equally likely to occur. Here, Energer takes your best case and your worst case durations and picks a random value anywhere between those dates. As you can see, the various best case, most likely cases, and worst case durations have an impact on how your Monte Carlo simulations are performed. If you haven't entered these durations on the network editor, Energer would use the default multipliers set up for your project. Thus, the results would vary based on what those settings would be. In general, the more confident you are about the durations you entered on the network editor, the more closer the duration multiples should be set. Energer offers this complex simulation with one click. However, that does require the duration and default settings to be set up correctly. To perform a Monte Carlo simulation, click on the Monte Carlo icon on the network editor or the Monte Carlo Simulations button on the project dashboard. Add a description and click on the Start a New Simulation button. Depending on your network complexity, this simulation can take a few minutes, or in some cases, a few hours. You'll be notified when the simulation is complete. Once complete, you'll see the results of the simulation here. You'll be presented by the best case completion, the most likely completion, and the worst case completion dates for your project. This information, coupled with the histogram presented below, will give you a good insight into what your projected completion dates of your projects would be. Energer's Monte Carlo simulations also account for risks in your schedule. In order to avoid having the model redo loops for various events, such as a whole redesign or retest possibility, you can attach a risk to any tasks where a risk is triggered, as shown here. Doing so will let Energer use the risk, the probability of the risk's occurrence, and its impact, to factor this risk into the completion date. Let's add a few risks to the project and rerun the simulation and then see how the completion dates change. If you have multiple simulations for a project, these are available for display at the bottom of the page. Clicking Show will show the results for that specific simulation. Running these simulations after major program events can show you how those events impact your potential project completion dates. As you can see, Energer makes it extremely easy to perform these complex simulations with just a click. Please reach out to us if you have any questions on Monte Carlo simulations, and do take a moment to read our FAQs at the bottom. Hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.